My name is Noah Fischel, and this is the first in a video series I like to call Up to Date. This is my little video record of all things politics and current events, and hopefully, in the process, I can keep you, my trusty, loyal, totally going to share this video viewer, up to speed on everything around the world and keep you up to date. Now, for today, our first topic for our first ever video is, drumroll please, math! No, not normal math, delegate math. Sounds even worse the second time. No, I promise that this will be simple and only a little bit painful. You see, nobody in the Democratic race is going to get the amount of delegates needed to clinch the nomination before the Democratic National Party. What's a delegate, you ask? I'm glad you ask. It's lesson time! A delegate is someone who's elected through presidential primaries to represent a certain district, county, or state at the National Convention. The National Convention delegates then hang around a couple days, talk about politics, and then eventually nominate their choice to run as President of the United States for either party. Each party has their own different system for choosing delegates. Now, why is that important? Well, it could tell you who will be the nominee, and just as importantly, when. Which brings me to the point of the video today. Who will be the Democratic nominee according to the delegate math? Now, if you're a politics junkie like me, you've been watching the election with bated breath, mainly because the two Democratic candidates, Senator Bernie Sanders and Secretary Hillary Clinton, have been running such a tight race, and lately they've been within a very, very close margin in terms of delegates. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. Now, as of this recording, the Green Papers, a long-running politics blog with very accurate reporting, has the delegate listings for both candidates at Bernie Sanders with 1,371 and Hillary Clinton with 1,664. Now, those totals don't count superdelegates. What's a superdelegate, I hear you ask? I think it's time for another lesson. Superdelegates are Democratic Party officials and civic leaders who get their delegate spot through political affiliation. Now, they don't actually vote until the convention in July, when everyone else votes for the nominee, so their pledges aren't counted in the official delegate projection. Now, unfortunately, Bernie Sanders won't hit the magical arbitrary number of 2,383 delegates he needs to clinch the nomination. However, conversely, neither will Hillary Clinton, no matter how many times the Clinton campaign insinuates, implies, or even flat out demands the Sanders campaign to drop out of the race. What's that? Oh, why won't Clinton secure the nomination? Well, let's go back to these delegate totals. Again, Bernie has 1,371 and Hillary has 1,664. Hillary needs 719 more delegates to get to that magical arbitrary 2,383. Now, the remaining amount of pledged delegates in all remaining states in the Democratic contest from here on out total up to 1,016. And in order for Clinton to attain that magical number, she'll have to win approximately 70.7% of the remaining delegates, because 719 divided by 1,016 equals 70.7%, or rounded, 71. Now, you might be thinking, Noah, Hillary's been doing so well so often. 71% doesn't sound unattainable for her. Well, you see, of those 1,016 pledged delegates remaining, 475 alone can be won in California. You know, California, where Clinton is polling at a 49% average. That state where Clinton's support is declining as Sanders' momentum keeps rising. California, the ace that the Sanders campaign, as well as the media, have been hiding from you up their sleeves. Because of Bernie's message and the overall extreme liberalism of California, plus the fact that Sanders has been consistently rising in the polls while Clinton has been faltering, it's a little unlikely that Clinton will do better than 49% there, let alone win the race. So, let's do some more math. Of the 475 delegates available in California on June 7th, let's say that Hillary takes 49% of those, even though she will almost certainly take less. That would give her 232.75 delegates, which will round up to an even 233. Next, let's add that to her current total of 1,664, bring her up to 1,897. Now she needs an additional 486 to reach the magic number of 2383, right? Well, let's find out how many delegates Clinton would have to win in the remaining states besides California. Of the 541 delegates left, once the 475 California delegates have been subtracted from the 1,016, Clinton is going to have to win almost 90% of the remaining non-California delegates. This is because when you divide the number of delegates that Clinton needs after California by the number of delegates remaining after California, you get .898 or 89% rounded down. Now, how likely does that sound? It's not likely in Oregon, a fairly progressive state that shares its general attitudes with Washington, a state that Sanders won with almost 70% of the vote. It's not likely in West Virginia either, where Sanders is currently leading in the polls. Nor is it likely in Indiana, where Sanders and Clinton are almost neck and neck, which votes tomorrow. That nomination is feeling a lot further away now, isn't it? Okay, maybe you're thinking, Noah, I think you're being unfair and Clinton could certainly win California, to which I would reply, I admire your optimism, my friend, and since you're so optimistic, let's run those numbers again, but this time, let's assume that Clinton, for whatever reason, defies the consistent trends that have prevailed over the entire primary season. Let's say she jumps up 11% now, winning the California primary with 60% of the vote. So 475 times 0.6 equals 285. Now add those 285 delegates to Clinton's current total of 1,664 and you get 1,949. But 2,383 minus 1,949 equals 434. So Clinton will still need to scrape up 434 delegates somewhere other than California somehow, which means, hold on, first we have to actually figure out how much of the remaining delegates she'll have to win. 434 divided by 541 is about 80%. So even if Clinton actually wins California with 60% to Sanders with 40, she'll still have to secure about 80% of the remaining vote. Again, this certainly doesn't seem likely in Oregon, West Virginia, or Indiana, which means the actual percentage would climb each time she failed to take 80% of a state. If you found yourself thinking, well, Sanders won't secure the nomination either, right? You're almost 100% right. Well, 99.6% right anyway. Because if we take Sanders' current delegate total of 1,371 and subtract that from the magic 2383, then divide that by the remaining available delegates, we get .996. Therefore, Sanders would have to secure a whopping 99.6% victory in all remaining states to secure the nomination. I think this may be one of the few things that both Bernie Sanders supporters and Clinton supporters could agree on, that it is impossible. But to those of you that are thinking, Noah, this is terrible, or, haha, take that, Sanders, I would reply, you are both wrong. Mostly. Let me explain. First off, let's acknowledge that the math seems to prohibit both candidates from securing the nomination before the convention. So what does this mean? Well, this means a lot. Since Sanders will not give up before the convention, there will most certainly be a contested convention. But Noah, you may be saying, won't Hillary still be miles ahead of Sanders in votes at the convention? To which I would reply, I'm glad you asked, my paid Hillary supporter friend. Allow me to demonstrate how that will also not be the case, no matter what the media would have you believe. Since neither of them will be securing the 2383 needed for the nomination, let's take a look at another number that has been hiding in plain sight for far too long. I'd like you to meet the number 4,051. That's the number of total pledged delegates that are available from all 50 states plus DC, US territories, and the Democrats abroad. As it should be obvious, a majority of these delegates would be 2,026 because 4,051 divided by 2 is 2,025.5. At the convention, this number is going to matter more than the unattainable 2383 that no one will have. That being the case, let's look at where Bernie Sanders would have to do to get there. If Sanders wins 60% of the remaining contests, and remember how 475 of the 1,016 are in California where Sanders will do well, then the numbers at the convention will look like this. Round that to 610 and add it to Sanders' current total of 1,371, then divide that by the total delegate count, 4,051. So, in the scenario where Sanders takes about 60% of the remaining vote, we're essentially looking at a 49 to 51% vote total at the convention. Not so bad, huh? And that's easily within Sanders' reach. If they do well in California, which they almost certainly will. Let's look at what happens if he takes 70% of the vote, just like he did the last time he went to the west/left coast. If Sanders took 70%, the convention would look like 51.3 to 48.7 in favor of Sanders. But 70%, while possible, is a bit of a stretch. The new magic number for Sanders, anyway, is actually 64.4 of the remaining states, which would mean winning 655 of the 1,016 remaining delegates, pushing his total up to 2026, the bare majority of delegates leaving Clinton one delegate behind at 2025. Now, does Sanders winning 64.4 sound too far-fetched? Not particularly, especially when we consider his advantage on the left coast. In California's 475 delegate semi-open primary. An uphill climb though, certainly. Remember though, it's all but certain that Clinton will not secure the nomination, while Sanders supporters are going to be pouring into Philadelphia for the convention by the tens of thousands. Even if Bernie fell short by a few points, we're still essentially looking at a tie, and that's when all hell is going to break loose. Things are going to become very interesting if we have a near tie at the convention to be decided by the superdelegates. Whatever the case may be though, we are in for a very bumpy ride. Seeing the delegate math now, we all know that neither candidate will make it to the 2383 needed to secure the nomination before the convention. All thrown out of groove too by Sanders' unrelentingness to stay in the race. All I know is, it's going to be one hell of a fun ride to watch. Thank you very much. My name is Noah Fischel, and you are now up to date. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with everyone you know. If you liked it, like it. And if you want more, comment, let me know, because I am very much interested in continuing on this video series. Thank you very much.